Switching hats again. I'm wearing a few hats today. So I called today's talk Inside Out. And the reason why I selected this topic is that this is the life lesson that I'm going through right now. And I think that a lot of us are. There are so many interesting things going on in the world right now. Things that can so easily drag us down, drag us away from our true self. And social media has a lot to do with this, unfortunately, because social media is a true blessing in so many ways. And in other ways, it's a way for people to buy into the fear that's out there. And I'm not saying that we have nothing, that there's no such thing as fear or anything of that sort. Certainly, that's a truth. And feeding fear with hatred, feeding fear with anger is not feeding the world, and it's not feeding your true self. I did have one lyric line that ran through my mind like 100 times this last weekend, and I am going to do another talk one day that's all around song lyrics. But this lyric was, cast off your garments of fear, replace them with love. Most of all, play with the game of the age. Highest of places remain all as one with you, giving us light and the freedom of the day. We can live in our freedom all the time. By the way, that's from a song called Madrigal. 3 guesses who did it.
Yes.
No, actually it was Anderson, Griffith, Wakeman, and Howe, but a lot of people said yes were in there. So, in fact, all of them had been in yes. But it was a beautiful song. It's a beautiful song about being in the light. So, also, in addition to this, today, we're getting ready to celebrate Martin Luther King Day as well. And although our dearest Dottie put this in the CCL Insights, not everybody gets it, and not everybody necessarily reads it. She gave me this great quote that Norman Schwarzkopf has stated. He said, "It doesn't take a hero to order men into battle. It takes a hero to be one of those men that goes into battle. Such are the characteristics of a hero. Someone who believes in actions rather than just words." And really that's what living from the inside out is in a lot of ways, is having the courage and having the bravery to feel something inside and go forward and live that. So I have asked Reverend Dr. Childs to come back up again for about 2 minutes and just tell us a little bit about her experience of an amazing hero, Martin Luther King, and she got to march with him so many years ago. Janet?
Thank you. And do we remember? I have a dream today. I have a dream today. Do you know that when Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King gave that seminal speech, that it was totally on the spot? It wasn't in his script at all. He gathered together all of the energy of the people at the March on Washington, and he pulled that energy into him with the energy of his connection with Spirit, and those are the words that came out. I have a dream today. And you know what Martin Luther King was about? He was a man, but he also was a channeler of the light. And why I say that is because I had the privilege of actually being close to him. I was a young woman, 12 years old, and I told my mom, I said, I want to march with Dr. Martin Luther King. And she said, okay. She was going, oh, no. And in those days, if you marched, you were a person of my age 12 at the time, you had to have sponsors. And so they arranged for sponsors to be with me. So I had a couple that was my sponsor to make sure I didn't get into trouble. Or make sure that I wasn't hurt, or that no one else gave me trouble. And because it's obvious that I am white, I just don't know how I came out white this time, but so I don't know.
You got the hair though.
We love you.
Definitely got the hair. But one of the things about the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King is what I remember about him was his steadfastness. So the same that he was when he gave his speeches, that's the same that he was in person and in real. And he was very humble. And you know, I had a chance to actually meet him with a couple of other young people. And they said, "Do you have a question to ask me?" He asked that of all of us. And the only thing I could think to ask him was, "What's your favorite food?" And he said, "Fried chicken." And I said, "That's my favorite food too." I mean, it was out of my mouth before. And I just said, you know, "Thank you, Dr. King. Thank you. Thank you for letting me be a part of it." And he said, "You always were, you always will be." Because at that time, I mean, it was very difficult. And unfortunately, these present times have brought forth, and I think you spoke it very well, Annie, when you talked about the fact that each and every one of us are dealing with challenging times. It reminds me very much of what it was like back then. Things have been unearthed. You know, healing needs to happen. Things have been unearthed. Healing needs to happen, and that's where we can call upon the example of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, because what he advocated was for it to happen peacefully. No matter how difficult that was, he advocated for it to happen peacefully because he knew, and he stated, and he lived that reality. Even in his death, he was in peaceful action. And so the gift that he gives us is peaceful action. And that not only goes for our actions in the world, but it goes in our actions for ourselves. We need to have peaceful action. We need to be gentle with ourselves. And I just consider him one of my biggest heroes, and I'm so grateful I got to be near him. And I hope that each and every one of us carry that universal energy that he so lovingly brought us.
Thank you so much. And that's exactly it. That's what today is about. Today is about ourselves. Because, okay, so if you have a bad day and something happens, like say you spill some milk, spill some water, whatever, what's your immediate reaction?
Clean it up.
Do you have a thought that goes with that? Like, God, that was stupid. Or, I can't believe you're so clumsy. Whose voice is that really? Is that your voice?
Usually your mom's.
Yeah, usually, possibly your mom, I will always honor my brother who, when he was with me, with us in body, and whenever any of us were upset with our mother, he would turn to me and say, "Well, you know how it goes, if it isn't one thing, it's your mother." So, but we can parent ourselves. Always made me laugh every time, because he was a psychologist as well, by the way. So, made it even funnier, but, the whole point is that what we hear and what we feel inside of ourselves as we're going through a rough moment in our lives is we're hearing all of the outside influence. We are not necessarily hearing what's good within ourselves. We're not hearing our inner child. We're not nurturing our inner child. We're not telling our inner child, that's okay, everybody makes mistakes. Sometimes we just need to turn to our child and say, "You know what, it's okay," and hug them. I loved your beautiful little girl? Boy, your little boy. His beautiful little singing in with the meditation was amazing. He's living from the inside out. He is truly within spirit. And it's only, every single one of us are born this way. We are born so perfect and so pure within. And then we tend to lose sight of, who we truly are. As people say, "No, that's bad," or "You can't do that," or "No, that's not good," or "No, you should have done it this way," or "You should, you should, you should, you should." And so how many times do we should ourselves? I should myself all the time. And then, and when my mother says "you should," I look at her and she goes, "Oh yeah, I'm not supposed to say should, am I?" But, she does, and I do. So what we're going to talk about a little bit today is, who are we really? Who are we really? We are one with the Creator. We are one. And I have here an incredible quote from Gibran that Jan read to me over the phone last night, and I said, oh, that's perfect, bring it today, would you? This is who we truly are. All things in this creation exist within you, and all things in you exist in creation. There is no border between you and the closest things, and there's no distance between you and the farthest things. And all things, from the lowest to the loftiest, from the smallest to the greatest, are within you as equal things. In one atom are found all the elements of the earth. In one motion of the mind are found the motions of all laws of existence. In one drop of water are found the secrets of all the endless oceans. And in one aspect of you are found all the aspects of existence. Breathe that in. We are truly a part of all creation. We truly, truly are. So not only did Gibran have this brilliance, there's, obviously, I think we all have it, but there is a book out there that I know y'all have heard of before, many of you, called The Little Soul in the Sun. What this is, it's a parable that was written by Neil Donald Walsh, and it was taken out of a lot of his stories about a little soul who came to God and said, you know what, God, I know what I am. God says, so what are you? And the little light says, I'm the light. And God said, that's good. But you're right. You are absolutely right. And the little soul was really happy because he figured it out all by himself. And, he thought, wow, this is really cool. But pretty soon this little soul, who was a curious little soul, said, knowing this is just not enough, okay? The little soul, he felt a bunch of stirrings inside, and he wanted to be who it was. He did not want to just do the light. He wanted to be the light. Sounds a little bit like our friend Reverend Sean, who speaks of, are you doing or are you being? And this is truly what this is about. So the little soul went back to God, which isn't a bad idea. I'm going to be reading a little bit from this, of those who want to know who they really are. And he said, hi God, now that I know who I am, is it okay for me to be it? And God said, you mean you want to be who you already are? Well, said the little soul, it's one thing to know who I am, but it's another thing altogether to actually be it. I want to feel what it's like to be the light. But you already are the light, said God. Yes, but I want to see what it feels like, cried the little soul. Well, said God with a bit of a chuckle, I suppose I should have known. You've always been the adventurous one. Then God's expression changed. There's only one thing. What? Asked the little soul. Well, there's nothing else but light. So, you see, I created everything. I created nothing but what you are. So, there is no easy way for you to experience yourself as who you are, since there's nothing that you are not. Huh? Said the little soul. Who was now just a little bit confused. Think of it this way, said God. You are like a candle in the sun. Oh, you're there all right. Along with a million, gajillion other candles who make up the sun. The sun would not be the sun without you. Nay, it would not be a sun without any one of these candles. And that would not be the sun at all, for it would not shine as brightly Yet how to know yourself as the light when you are amidst the light, that is the real question. Well, the soul perked up. You're God. Think of something. Once more God smiled. I already have, God said. Since you cannot see yourself as the light when you are in the light, I will surround you with darkness. Now, doesn't that sound a little bit about what's going on in this world today? What's the darkness, the little soul asked. God replied, it is what you are not. Will I be afraid of the dark? Cried the little soul. Only if you choose to be, said God. We have a choice, folks. We have a choice. Doesn't mean we don't feel fear. Doesn't mean we don't feel these things. But we have a choice to embrace it and make it part of us, or to work our way through it. So, there's really nothing really to be afraid of, said God, unless you decide that there is. You see, we're making it all up. We're just pretending. So God explained that in order to experience anything that is the exact opposite of it will appear. And it's a great gift, said God. Without it, you could not know what anything is like. You could not know warm without cold. You could not know down without up. You could not know fast without slow. You could not know left without right. And without there, now, within, without then. So, God concluded, when you are surrounded with the darkness, do not shake your fist and raise your voice and curse the darkness. Rather be a light unto the darkness. And don't be mad about it, and then you will really know who you really are. And all others will know too. Let your light so shine that everyone will know just how special you are. You mean it's okay to let others see how special I am? Asked the little soul. Of course, God chuckled. It's very okay. But remember, special does not mean better. Everybody is special in their own way. Yet many others have forgotten that. They will see that it's okay for them to be special, only when they see that it is okay for you to be special. And really, it's okay to love yourself, to be proud of yourself, to take moments alone, to take times when you are not having the best moment. It's okay to be there. And it's okay to have that good moment and share it with others as well. You can be just, wow, out here. And as long as you are not saying, I am superior to you, well, I'm better because I'm the light. No, because you're the light too. And your light shines a little differently than my light shines. But you have a lot of beauty and a lot of wonder and a lot of amazement, amazing things about you. So the little soul was really happy and was dancing and skipping and laughing and jumping with joy. I can be as special as I want to be. That's how I want all of you to be too. Yes, and you can start right now, said God, who was dancing and skipping and laughing right along with the little soul. What part of special do you want to be? And then the story goes on where the little soul goes down to the earth. And God sends somebody to them that's going to make them very angry and hurt them and harm them. And how the little soul is going to find forgiveness for that. But right now, today, we're talking about inside ourselves. Forgiving ourselves. Loving ourselves. Accepting ourselves. When our dear Janet was singing this morning, and she was saying, in your home, where is your home? Right here within your heart. That's your home. So just take a second and let's just touch ourselves at our home and just know that we are love. We are that beautiful joy. We are that light. And we can be proud of that light that we are. Take a nice deep breath. So I was thinking about how how do we live from the inside out? Not every single one of us is Martin Luther King, okay? Not every single one of us is that hero that you have, because every single one of us has a hero that we look to for inspiration. This person gave me inspiration to carry forward. This person gave me inspiration to keep going even when things seemed not so great. I still kept going. You don't necessarily have to be that person that goes out there and changes everything in the world, because where does the change really start? It starts within us. And when we find that change within ourselves, then we become the pebble that's thrown into the water that radiates out to all others around us. When I'm in the grocery store, I'll just look at people and smile. I don't care if they're smiling or not smiling. I say hello. If they are in the way, of me, I stand very quietly and I wait for them to be done with whatever they're doing at the whatever shelf I happen to be wanting to look at. And when they walk away, I just say thank you, and I walk, and I'm not going to shove people out of the way. The only time that I might do something, where I might say, could you mind for a second, I need to grab this because I'm in a hurry. But I don't just push people. Some people do that. Some people actually kind of shove their way through. And we don't need to be that way. We can come from home, from our heart. We can come from the inside out. And that makes us heroes in everybody's life that we meet. Because somebody's going to say, wow, when I was feeling really down, Cheryl looked at me and said, hi, beautiful. And I just felt beautiful at that moment, and I was able to let go. Rev Janet turned to me and said, I love you. It made it easier for me to love myself, because loving ourselves is the biggest challenge that there is. And that's where I'm at right now, is learning to love myself more.
Good.
So, thank you all for being here and supporting me in this journey.
We love you.
And I love you. I love you all. So as I was looking for things of how do you continue to live from the inside out? How do you make this a reality in your own life? How do you create this? How do you do all of the wonderful stuff that you want to do and really, really come from your own authentic self, your own true self? And I just started looking online, and I found this big article called Life from the Inside Out, The Art of Mindful Living. And it was written by Megan R. Fenyoe, F-E-N-Y-O-E. I don't know how I would pronounce that, Fenyoe. She's an LCSW, and she comes from, I don't know if she wrote a book, but it's called Helping People Believe They Are Enough. How many times do you think you are not enough? How many times do we say, I wish I could do that, but I'm just not enough? Well, what makes you think that you're standing there and giving loving energy is not enough? It is. That's coming from the inside out. That is coming from the inside out. Okay? So, what is mindful living? Mindful living is about living in the present moment, right here, right now, without judging yourself and without judging others. Now, the first judgment that always comes out of my spirit is a judgment of myself. And then it reflects out to others. But we realize that as we're pointing our finger, we have to be pointing back at ourselves. Because anything that we're unhappy with in another person is usually something that we're unhappy with within ourselves. So that's a biggie. For many people, mindful living is just not natural. They tend to live on autopilot. So many of us live on autopilot. The problem is that autopilot can often amp you up. So let's have an example. You're driving yourself to your favorite nail salon, or to your favorite place to go get your hair cut, or your favorite restaurant, or whatever. But as you're driving, all you're thinking about is the argument that you had with your child, the argument you had with your spouse, the argument that you had with your animals. I mean, who knows? I argue with my animals all the time. Why are you peeing on the floor? That's a big fight we have all the time. What are you doing that for? Okay, so before you know it, you're all fired up. Okay, you're angry. You're not living in the moment. You just went back to that fight that happened a couple of years ago, or a couple of weeks ago, or a few hours ago, or whatever it may be. Okay? You are not living there. So, do you really want to carry around that anger and that unpleasant feeling? I don't think that you necessarily do, right? So, I mean, I know I don't. And when I get to that place, sometimes it's really hard to stop obsessing about it. And you want to, I want to stop obsessing about it, but it's like something keeps going and going and going. And part of that is me telling myself that obviously I did something wrong. Obviously something's weird here. So obviously, so it's that self-criticism, that terrible, place to be. So mindful living, the first step is to create a judgment-free zone. Instead of reacting emotionally to situations like most people do on autopilot, you can choose to focus on the current moment, letting those emotions take you over. So it might be something that you see on the news that's very distressing. You feel angry, you feel sad, you feel all kinds of feelings about that, and you just acknowledge the emotion without judgment. You can talk to your inner child who's maybe fighting that feeling and say something like, I know you're having a really rough time with this, but it's okay. We'll get through it. But if you stay in that moment and get through it, then you're not carrying it with you everywhere you go. You are not keeping it in your heart. You are not making it something that is something that's going to keep obsessing over and over and over again. Stop, work it through, let it go. Are you always in the space that you can do that? Probably not. And mindful living takes a lot of practice, and I'm going to try to practice this. Okay, so mindful living makes you more appreciative. Excuse me. Of the fact that I have a cough. So it says, during unenjoyable moments, like when you're cleaning your home, or you're talking to it, you have a boring client, or something that's it's tempting to let your mind wander. But part of mindful living is staying in the moment. So when you don't want to hear it, when somebody's talking to you and you're thinking, I do not want to hear this, and you just let your mind go off someplace else, try to bring it back. Bring it back to the moment, because it's important that you are mindful right then and there. It keeps all the other resources away from you. So mindful living can help improve your mood. It's kind of interesting. Well, hi there. How you doing, Franklin? Few things can improve your improve your mind, quite like mindful thinking. Often, anxious thoughts are the result of worrying about the future, while sad thoughts are related or regretting the past. This is not 100% of the time, at times. Mindful living helps us because it forces us to stop overthinking. We don't want to be looking at the past, and we don't want to be looking at the future. We want to be right here, right now, in the moment. So in doing that, you can help improve your mood, because right here, right now, things are great. Maybe yesterday was kind of cruddy. I could still be carrying around that silly person that parked 2 inches from my car illegally while I was at work, and almost made me late for an appointment. And I did obsess about it for quite a while. But that was on Thursday. So, I put the photo on Facebook, and then I said, okay, now I'm over it. Okay? Because I try to do that. Rant over. I've done my rant. I'm in the moment. Now I'm done. Now let's go on to something that's better. That's the way I like to do things. Try to spend a week focusing your mind on mindful living and just see how things happen. And one of the things that is suggested in this article is, for everything, you can go and find this article online. She tells you to journal everything. So everything that she tells you to go about and do, then it says journal, and then it gives you a series of questions for journaling. And the website was thriveglobal.com. But when I looked up thriveglobal.com, it didn't bring me to this, so I looked up thriveglobal.com, and then I put your life from the inside out, or living from the inside out. And it brought it up. Okay? So here's 4 warning signs that you are living on autopilot. constantly checking your phone. Having a conversation with somebody and you're looking at your phone. You don't want to be here at the moment. You don't necessarily want to hear. You might respond to a text message even while you're at church you do that, or while you're at a red light. You could be doing all kinds of things where you are just sort of saying, okay, I don't want to be here in this present moment, not right here, not right now. So, and you're not consciously doing this. It's very unconscious. You're checking your phone. Eating mindlessly. So it doesn't mean, I love to sit in front of the TV and eat, but I still try to be mindful as I eat. Do I always listen to what my naturopath says? No. He tells me to chew everything 20 to 30 times. I don't always remember that. Sometimes I'm in a little more of a hurry. But if you are just sort of like mindlessly eating and not even focusing, you may not even remember what you ate. You may not even remember what it tasted like. And certainly you're not going to remember how much of it you ate. So when you're a little more mindful, it's easier to say, oh, I had those 4 cookies, and now I'm done. I don't need 4 more cookies because I had 4 and that was my limit today, or whatever it was. You could be mindful about that. I'm not talking about weight loss. I'm talking about taking care of your body, mind, and soul. I'm not talking about, being thin, being fat, being anything else. I'm talking about taking good care of yourself. Eating mindlessly puts you into a place where you are not focusing on your best, highest well-being. Letting life just happen to you. There's a good one. You might have a couple of goals, and you might be looking at it, but otherwise you're letting yourself drift along in life, and the majority of time you are reacting rather than living. So when you're in a crisis, then this can be a good thing, I guess, because it means you're focused on survival. Okay? So when you're in crisis, you have to be there in the moment, right then. You've got to be present, and Reverend Janet can talk about that, I'm sure, all day long and then some, of how present you have to be. When you are a first responder, you can't be thinking about whether or not you fed the cat. You got to be thinking about that person right there and right then. You've got to be focused on them. Don't just let life happen to you. Be there, be focused. Living on autopilot is a habit, and disengaging from it does take effort. But it takes one moment at a time, and you'll get it easier. It will become easier. Too much familiarity. When you learn something new, it requires the best of your awareness and energy at first, but the more you master it, the less effort it takes, right? So think of riding a bicycle. Once you started riding a bicycle, it was hard work. Once you finished learning how to ride it, it's super. It's autopilot, right? So those are some of the ways of which you live on autopilot, okay? When we take on too much work, we all do that. Don't worry about me. Oh, you mean I can leave work early today? Oh, sorry, but I have another 15 things I need to get done before I can go out the door. What makes you think it's not going to be there tomorrow? Because, by the way, it will be there tomorrow. And that's a huge lesson for me, because, I have the title of hyper-responsible, and everybody thinks that, we'll just ask Ann, and she'll stay, and she'll take care of it, and Ann is starting to have some boundaries. So guess what, folks? Sometimes I'm going to have to say, no, can't stay late, nope, can't do this. I have other things I want to do, and I'm going to do to take care of me. TMI, too much information. There's too much information out in this world. We already talked about the social media. And I love social media. Don't get me wrong. I love social media. I am in touch with people I haven't been in touch with for years and years and years. When I was in Oregon, I had dinner with somebody I hadn't seen since 1975. Because we lived in Los Angeles and now she lives in Eugene, Oregon. And it's like, wow, why? Because we became Facebook friends. So, wonderfulness about social media. The hard part is when people are putting up news articles and they're stating their fear, they're stating their anger, they're stating whatever, we have to stay within ourselves. Feed it love. Give it the love that it deserves. Give them the love they deserve. But don't fall into the trap of spiraling downward. Too much information can be dangerous. Not enough information can be dangerous. Stay informed, but don't live your life by the appearances that are out there. Because we, inside, are what's creating the world outside. So be that. That's within you, and show that outside. Let's see here. Some good stuff on here. Too little passion. Well, I don't know how to start with that. So let's start with awareness. So we want our emotions to be heard. We want to be acknowledged. How we feel. But when we try saying something simple to yourself like, I'm angry that such and so did this to me, and then take a few deep breaths. Okay? Acknowledge the other emotions you feel bubbling up to the surface. Overwhelm, anger, jealousy, sadness, whatever. And being aware of it helps you work your way through it. That's what mindfulness is about. Okay? So, here are some things that they say to do. Analyze your emotions. Where's this emotion coming from? When this triggered me, when I saw that, there was something that happened on the news, and it triggered me deep inside. Why did it trigger me? I had something happen to me when I was a child that was very similar to this. And I don't want to be in that place anymore. Oh, I'm talking longer than I should. Okay, so basically, here's some of the things they say to do to stay within there. Go for a walk in nature. Listen to music. Try coloring. Coloring is really cool. I have so many color books at home and so on. And just come from your true self, always. And when you are with your true self at all times and in all ways, you are living in the spirit. And I thank you very much as I call the choir up.